Welcome back to the Applied Leadership Podcast. My name is Blaine Smith, and I'm here as always with my friend and partner, Brandon Young. And we are bringing you two friends with one question in half an hour, zero script. So we've got a really, really good question today. And it's all about presence. And the question is, how do we ensure that we as leaders and our people are present in a world with lots of distractions and where everybody is working to try to achieve some level of work-life balance? And Brandon, I got to tell you, I love this question because it strikes right to the heart of what you and I talk about, not just with our clients and partners, but with each other and our families all the time. I mean, there's a lot to do in today's world. There are so many distractions. Many of them are necessary and some of them are perhaps more frivolous. And we are all rightly trying to work in a way that still allows us to have a high quality of life and be present for our families. And so I think the heart of the question is, while we're at work, how do we model and try to achieve for our people a high level of presence? What are your thoughts?
Gosh, man, this is like, you ever have those moments where it's like almost like you can see your thoughts like a thought cloud in a comic strip, and you're just trying to figure out like which one should I grab first and like go with? That's kind of how I feel right now, because we have spent an awful lot of time talking about this. We take this very seriously because it's hard. I mean, like we said, I feel like I could say this 1,000 times and I'll say it 1,000 more times before I pass, which is, like leadership is hard if you care. Leadership's really hard if you care. And I like the energy of the question. I like where it's coming from. So I won't keep belaboring how much I love the question or how many thoughts I want to pick. So I'm just going to start picking them. So here we go. We live in a very distracting world right now. We live in a world that is replete with things that are vying for our attention. Some of those things are healthy or pro-social or productive or valuable. Some of those things are wasteful. They're trash. They're come from a place of, it seems to be anger, bitterness, fear. You look at things that go viral. There's constant negativity, I think. And so I just want to lay that out to begin with. Is not all things are bad. I'm certainly not sitting here saying all of the things that may vie for our time, they're not all like evil. They're not all trying to destroy our productivity or destroy us as a people. I don't believe that. I believe that first and foremost, being aware of the fact that we have a lot of things that are vying for our time is where this idea of presence begins. And we often talk about being where your feet are. So if you're going to be where your feet are as a leader, and we're going to model that for our people, then there are certain things that we know naturally will distract us from being present, such as our phones. I'm just going to say it. Our phones can be a vehicle for heavy distraction. They can also be a vehicle for heavy productivity. It depends on how you use it. And it depends on who you are. It depends on what your particular pull is to it. If you're the type that a phone to you is just a phone, then fantastic. If you're not the type that a phone is just a phone and it takes you all in different directions, whether it's playing games that are mostly not going to be beneficial for your productivity at work, or whether it's looking at social media and getting lost in social media, if that's you, then you probably need to be aware of that. And I would just start by saying awareness is critical at the forefront of this. Is I would encourage everyone to become aware of some of the things that bait you out of your productivity. For me, a perfect example is, for social media. I have to be very careful with how I engage with social media throughout my day. I'm speaking from my office. I work out of my office. If I'm not traveling or meeting with somebody face to face, most of my days are spent in this office. It would be very easy for me to get lost on social media, to think about, well, what's this person saying, or what's that person saying, or, ooh, what's going on here? And so I have eliminated those apps from the screen of my phone. I just don't have them on my phone. And I find that out of sight, out of mind is works quite well for me, and it allows me to be more present in my work. Another thing that I do, and I could get on a soapbox and talk about discipline, one of my very favorite words, is I do believe that discipline is one of our key assets in the fight for presence. And what I mean when I say that is, discipline is doing what is good, not what feels good. Discipline is doing what is best, not what is now. And so it might feel good to enable myself to get down into the weeds of distraction, but it probably is not good. And so one of the things that I do for myself to remain present and to remain focused is every morning after I do my time in the Bible and I do my prayer and my contemplation, I will write down my 3 critical tasks for the day. I only do 3 because 3 is enough. It doesn't mean that I don't do more than 3 things in the day. I know that I do. But it does mean that these are the 3 critical things that I want to make sure that I do for today. And as I go throughout the day, life's an open book test. I have my notebook here and I can just keep looking back at my notes and I can just keep referring back and saying like, oh, that's right. I have to get back on track on this because I'm just like anybody else. It can be very easy to become interested and distracted by other things, but that ultimately pulls me away from my presence. So I know that I've started my response and my remarks in talking about like how, the intrapersonal, the things going on inside as they relate to the external stimulations out there. But that's how I would start to answer this question, because that is most present and top of mind for me when I think about presence is, am I getting distracted? What are the things that are distracting me? If I do get distracted from those things, what are some simple tactics that I can do to start making those less apparent? And if they are apparent, maybe less appealing, so that I can be disciplined to be present, to conduct the work that I need to do.
Yeah, very good. There's no doubt limitless potential distractions. So I think really a lot of what you're saying is let's be aware of potential distractions or the ones we're most prone to, and let's have some sort of strategy to try to limit or eliminate distractions. And I'll pivot this to the other side of the coin off of what you said about your 3 priorities for the day. Because I think to take the positive approach to this, or to take something that can be actionable, certainly for your people, is prioritization and focus. That's how you can help your people to be present, is help them to understand the priority or the priorities for that day or for that week. Make sure that they are clear on that. Make sure that you are consistent with that and that your actions match your statements, and give them permission to focus. Allow them to do the critical things that need to be done so that they can be successful. Because while you cannot control all of the things that may distract a person, like social media or gaming or whatever else is going on, you can, while they're at work, not make it worse. Right? So what we don't want to do is take people who are already in very busy, very distracted lives and make things the same way at work. If you do it right, can become this sort of bastion of focus and productivity, where people can feel good about doing one thing at a time, doing it well, give people the requisite amount of time to get things done. Let's do our very best not to be checking up on people every 2 minutes over email, or send them a Slack message every 5 minutes to see what's up, or to send them some encouragement. Let's do everything we can, within our work setting, and I know they're all different, to give people clear priorities and an understanding of where we need them to focus. Let's give them realistic timelines to get that work done. And let's see if people can do really great work in a container that's appropriate for what it is we're asking them to do. Because as much as we can, shake our fists and gnash our teeth at Facebook or Instagram or any other thing going on, or the news cycle, we're not very good, if we're being honest, in the workplace anymore about doing one thing at a time and giving people permission to focus and whatnot. So yes, we're already kind of swimming upstream to begin with, but in many cases, we're not doing ourselves any favors in the work setting. And so being a model of that, I think, is really, really critical. And most places are trying to, they're trying to spin a lot of plates at one time, and people don't tend to do very well at that. So that's kind of my initial take on it as well, Brandon, is let's be really clear about what it is that is most important. And let's give people permission, for goodness sake, to do those things without distracting them further. Because here's the other piece. I'll end my rant here, I guess, is that it's not just social media or games or cable news that's distracting people. People are living just busier lives than they ever had. That is a reality of the world we live in, because now you need to invite every kid to your kid's birthday party. Now on Valentine's Day, it's not just cards your kid needs to bring, but some sort of goodie bag. There are expectations of people as adults now, and certainly as parents, that have it's crept into this space where nobody seems to have any additional bandwidth for managing their lives. And so even if someone is very disciplined and they're only doing things in their lives that are sort of healthy and good for them and their family, that list is probably still too long for most people. And so if we're going to work with folks, let's be understanding of that. And let's see if we can do everything we possibly can to make the 8 or so hours they spend at work with us as free from that as possible, so that they can then go back to their lives and handle all the carpool and the sports and the dinner and the cleaning and everything else that they've got going on.
Yeah, for sure. And we're we're starting to kind of creep into the other half of this question, which is around this idea of work-life balance. And you've already kind of teed up a little bit of how we've often talked about this and think about it, which is full cards on the table. We're not super in love with the term work-life balance. We don't particularly care for work-life balance because, frankly, that sounds stressful in itself, like balance. It's like I'm on a balance beam right now. And if I go one direction or the other, then I fail somebody, or it's that proverbial spinning plates. And we would just start off by saying, like, I don't know that work-life balance is actually the word that we're going for, or the energy that we're going for. I think we're kind of going a little bit more for work-life integration, or whole life integration is probably a better way of saying it. And this is not some cute play on words here. I think we could take a little bit of time and explain this, because when I think of work-life balance, I think of the challenge of being a husband, a father, a leader in my community, a business owner, a leader in my business, and I'll just stop right there, because I could list probably some other things, but I think about the mental abacus that's at play, where if it's like, oh goodness gracious, like if I gave this many hours to this project, then I have to slide the abacus over and give this many hours over to time with this person, and then I've got to watch out for, I've got 2 kids, so I've got to play the mental abacus of going
Zero-sum game.
Yeah, it's a zero-sum game. It's a race to the bottom. Nobody is winning that game. I don't know anybody who feels like they're smashing it at work-life balance. I don't know anyone.
No.
So I think we should stop talking about it. Let's talk about whole life integration, because the truth is whether I'm filming a podcast right now, or I'm on stage doing a keynote, or I'm speaking to one of our clients, I'm still Kelly's husband, and I'm still Jaden and Ellie's dad, and I'm still Blaine's business partner. And, all these things are still actually accurate of me. And I think we want to live more from a posture of a whole life integration. And so I think that is, first of all, more helpful when we think about this topic.
Sure. I love the term integration. We've started using the term harmony a little bit, which, I love music, and I think that makes a lot of sense. 2 things can come into combination and make something new and beautiful together, rather than it being this sort of like finite, discrete, zero-sum game. And I couldn't agree more with that. And one of the ways that I find that my life, at least, is richer and happier, and one of the ways I'm frankly more effective as a business person, is to give myself permission to focus on one thing at a time, understanding that all of these things bubble up to me being the best version of myself. And so I could feel guilty about the time I'm spending right now with you, Brandon, and advancing our business or recording this podcast, because I'm not spending it with my wife or with my kids. But that's not really the truth. The truth is we have a business and something that we're trying to do in the world, and me being right here with you right now and giving my very best to our conversation and to this question is the best way for me to be the best version of myself. And that's in best service of what's going to happen when I close this door and go down for dinner a little later. We have to find some way to make peace with that. And as a leader in the workplace, we need to understand that about our people. And maybe we can encourage them and coach them a little bit and say, look, if you need to be out of here at 3:30 today because your kid's got a soccer tournament, I want you to go and do that. And I want you to be right there for every minute of it. And I don't want you to miss that. And when you come back in at 8:30 on Monday morning, these are the two things I really need you to focus on, because by the end of the day, Tuesday, that stuff's got to get over the goal line. Are we good with that? Yes, we're good with that. Now that person can be all the things they need to be, and they can focus on what they need to focus on and do that one thing at a time and really be present. What we don't want them to do is to try to, be on their phone or their laptop while they're at their kid's soccer tournament and then or go and watch the soccer game, but be worried in their head the whole time that they're not going to make their deadline at work. We've got to interact with people, and we've got to give them a way to be the best version of themselves in these various aspects of their life. I remember having an employee at GoRuck when I was there he was an Army veteran and was a fairly good athlete. I know, because we would go do sprints outside sometime, and I was like, I can't believe how fast this guy is, because he didn't look like he was in particularly good shape. And I remember having a conversation. Yeah. And I was like, ooh. I remember having a conversation with him during a one-on-one, and I was like, what's up? How you seem stressed. And he had 2 young kids at home. He had a fairly lengthy commute, and he really wanted to be in the gym. He wanted to be doing CrossFit, and he just didn't feel like he had time, and his health was starting to be negatively affected by all of this. And the only thing I'm thinking is, I'm failing this guy, because I don't want you to, be pre-diabetic or have fatty liver disease or have dark circles under your eyes or feel like life is overwhelming to you right now. Like, first of all, how is that guy going to be very good at his job for very long if that's the case? And second of all, I just care about this guy, and I want him to be a good dad and a good husband and to be a healthy dude. And so what we talked about was just, what's a barrier right now? Why don't you think you're getting it in? Well, I could come in earlier, but I already have a long commute, or I could work out after work, but then I get in the rush hour traffic and it takes me a long time to get home, and la. And what we came up with was, look, you've got an hour every day at lunchtime to go across the street and get the noon CrossFit class in, if that's what you want to do. And if you need a little bit more time after that to get cleaned up and have some lunch, you should take that. And so if you need 90 minutes in the middle of the day, every day, just come in the morning, get your work done, take that time, take care of yourself, and then go home on time every afternoon. Do you feel like you're going to have a hard time getting your work done if you do that? No. Okay. That's what we're going to do. That guy could be present at work. He could be present with his family, and he could be present for 60 minutes during that CrossFit class. And his health improved amazingly. The guy just became in better shape and started killing all of us in the workouts. And that wasn't a Herculean task on the part of his leadership, or on his part, frankly. It just took a little bit of an understanding of what he had going on in his life and a way to kind of harmonize those things to where he could be his best self. And for me, that's always the example I come back to, because what we had in the beginning was a person who didn't think they had the time or the bandwidth or the capability or the permission to be their best in those 3 different aspects of life. And that just wasn't true. And it took having a conversation for us both to come up with a solution that worked beautifully well.
Yeah. And I would be remiss if I don't ask you. And by the way, what was the impact upon his professional performance?
Yeah, he's the director of operations there now, and they're crushing it. So my guess would be he's doing an awesome job as expected. Yeah.
So it kind of worked. And I think that it's the dark side of this, I would say, is that, I think sometimes we wonder, oh, well, that's all nice, but I mean, what about the work? What about the work? So it's nice to be able to say, Blaine, hey, you know what? Penny's got a thing going on Friday. Go, I know you want to go chaperone that. Like, just go do that. But what about the work? What about the work that's got to be done? And I would suggest that, at least in the sample sizes that I have, which is the many people that I've had a chance to lead and work with, and the different organizations, whether it have been in corporate America, in a Fortune 500 company, in social impact, in small business, I got to tell you that the results seem to consistently be increased performance and increased allegiance to the mission.
Look, the word that I keep flashing before my eyes here is quality. Quality really matters. And I don't know everyone's work or how it all goes, but my guess would be, and my experience has shown me, Brandon, that if I can put in a really quality focused effort on something, it takes a lot less time than you might imagine to do a good job and to get that product done. And I'm not saying that everyone's wasting their time at work all day or whatever, but what I know to be true is that a focused, quality, present effort on something, whether it's a 3-person meeting or 1 person working on a project, is going to be much better than someone multitasking or worried about every aspect of their life for 8 hours while they're in the office. And so giving people that permission to focus is huge. The other thing I would say along with that is with regard to quality is you often don't need quite as much time as you think to take care of something that is a priority to you. And as leaders, we need to understand that. So do you need 2 uninterrupted hours tomorrow with no meetings, Zoom calls, whatever, to really get this thing done? Yes, that would be helpful. Okay, you got it. You can miss that 1 meeting so you don't have to break it up into 2 chunks. Now, you're having a hard time getting to the gym. Would 30 minutes of good quality focused effort of exercise be way better for you than saying, I can't come up with an hour or an hour and a half to get to the gym and shower and change whatever? Yes, it would. Okay. That might be something you need to choose in order to harmonize your life, is to put in quality in a smaller dose. Look, this even applies to our family and our kids. You and I travel a lot. We can't be there all the time. The quantity of time I spend with my kids is not quite what I want it to be. But I can promise you that there's not a 5-year-old on the planet that won't take 20 or 30 minutes of your undivided attention and soak that up, and it will be so meaningful for them. And so when we talk about presence, the word I can't get out of my head is quality. When we are present, we can do quality work. We can get a quality workout in. We can spend quality time with our people. And that matters so much more than the quantity. And I think what so many of us are doing, and I'll count myself among them, is during all of our waking hours, we have so many sort of tabs open in our head of the work tab, the family tab, whatever. And it's all fragged out. We're not giving the quality and the presence that we need. And I know that we all would be incredibly impressed with what 2 quality hours at that would be, 30 quality minutes at that would be, and then another 1 quality hour at that. You could knock out most of the things that are most important to you in your day if we could figure out a way to be truly present, be where our feet are, be undistracted, be focused, and get some of that done. And as a leader, you need to understand your people, you need to understand the work to be done, and array your folks in a way that fits with that.
Yeah, I think so much of what you're talking about is underpinned by discipline. Again, I think it really comes down to discipline. This should be of no surprise to anybody that the Ranger is talking about discipline right now, right? It is what it is. Like, you know, you have to actually make some of those hard choices to make sure that you can fully focus. You know, I've been thinking about, as we've been talking here, we had a leader many years ago when we were in the commercial laboratory or in the anatomic pathology space. And she would always say, when here, be here. Every meeting, she would say, when here, be here. In fact, take your blackberries, put them on the back table, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I will tell you, I will roll this forward because it reminds me of a situation that happened many, many years ago. And I really give Kelly, my wife, a lot of credit for this, because she says to me, we were about to go on a vacation, right? And this was a time when I was really overwhelmed with a lot of work. I had taken over a sales district. It was a multi-state region. It was also during a time when there was a complete corporate restructure going on within the organization, and the districts were all going to be changed, and leaders from different laboratories, like 6 different divisions, were going to take over like aligned districts. It was very complex, very confusing. And part of it was, you know, I don't know if you know this, but salespeople still want to get their commissions regardless of what's going on and all of that. And I had so many nights that I would be up till 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, reading through lines and lines and lines of requisitions, test codes, assignments, zip codes, dollar amounts, because we really wanted to make sure that our people were getting the appropriate credit for their efforts. And it was right around this time that Kelly and the kids and we were all going on a family vacation. And it took her a lot of courage because she says this to me. She says, "Hey, I'm wondering if this vacation, can you just leave your BlackBerry at home, please?" And I was like, "No, of course not. That's crazy. Like, why would I do that?" And she said, "Well, the thing about it is that you're going to look at the emails. You're going to look at the requests. I just know you. And the last couple times we went on a vacation, this is what happened. And I just want to see if it's possible. Can you put your out of office on and actually like not respond to anything and maybe like leave it?" And it was really eye-opening, and I appreciated it, because what that let me know, and I'm bringing us back to how we started this entire conversation, is that there are things for me that are better to be out of my general periphery, so to speak, or ability to touch, in order for me to be more present where I am. And work has always been that for me, because I care, because I love business. I love the process of leading. I love people. I love the work. I just love it. It's exciting for me. It's fun for me. And so it's very hard to put that down when I'm supposed to be in a family setting. And so that was a real awareness moment. And we settled on, I just gave it to her and she got to hold it. So it came with us, but she got to hold it. That was the that was the way we settled it. But I'll tell you now, here we are some decade later, and I've gotten really disciplined about that. When I'm on vacation, I am on vacation, because here's what I know is that I've done vacations looking at the work stuff and responding and looking at the spreadsheets, and I come back from vacation and I am just as exhausted as I was when I went on vacation. Now I don't do that anymore, because when I need recreation, recreation, I need to be present and focused on that recreation so that I can come back spitting nails, ready to do the work.
Yep. I think, you said discipline a few times here, but one of the things, which I totally agree with, one of the things I want to just add to that is that you've also talked about setting the conditions for success. None of us are perfect. None of us have impeccable willpower. It's critical that we set the conditions for success. And that includes, obviously, for ourselves, but also for a leader. We need to understand our people and understand the work environment. And we need to do some things to set the conditions for success. Your old boss had the blackberries on the back table. That was a condition that helped the meeting be a little bit more productive. And so let's think hard about how can we set conditions for success for ourselves and for our people that will allow them to be as present as possible, because none of us are perfectly disciplined, especially some of these things are incredibly powerful, and that they will suck us in. And so we need to do things that allow us to fence off some of our time and our energy so that we can be completely present in what it is we're doing. And that might be, no phone or laptop on vacation. It might be no phones in this meeting. It might be no meetings on the calendar from 9 to 11 a.m. every morning so people can focus. I don't know your business and I don't know you, and there's lots of ways you can do it. But if you're not thinking hard about creating conditions that allow you to prioritize and focus, then I think you're going to have a lot of challenges. I mean, I went on a vacation several years ago, and my rule was I could look at my phone early in the morning before everyone got up. And for me in that time, because I was the CEO of the organization, it helped me take 30 or 40 minutes, clear my head, make sure there were no fires to put out. Then I could turn it off and put it away. And by the time it was time for breakfast, I could be there. That was a way that I did it. But at the end of the day, we cannot completely trust ourselves to just have all things available. I don't want to have crack and candy and everything all over my desk every day and be like, no, it's fine. I can have it all right here. I definitely won't touch it. That's certainly not going to work for me, man. we try not to keep beer in the fridge at the house because I like beer. And if there's a fresh 6 of delicious beers every night when I open up the fridge at dinner time, I'm probably going to take one out and have one, but I don't want to drink beer every day. So probably checks out. That just makes sense.
Yeah. I love it. I feel the same about ice cream. I love ice cream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't have that stuff around.
I know. Come on, man. What are you, crazy? So that's awesome. I appreciate it. This has been a really fun conversation, and I'm confident that we could fill a number of other podcasts with this topic. But just to kind of wrap things up, I think we talked a lot about awareness. Be aware of some of those poles of your attention. I think we talked a little bit about discipline. Be willing to apply some personal discipline to it to know what is good versus what feels good necessarily in the moment. We talked about setting the conditions for success and wanting to be the type of leaders that set conditions for success for our people. And, we talked about the idea of whole life integration. And I just want to end this podcast on that to say this. Whoever you are and whatever you're doing out there in the world, our hope for you right now is that when you get back to work and you get back to doing what you're doing, go do it as the best possible spouse, parent, leader, contributor, whatever it is that you are, all those domains of your life, bring those to the table and respect that each one of those are uniquely aspects that make you the awesome person that you are. And we hope that you gain strength and power from that as opposed to stress and the feeling that you're constantly playing the mental abacus. So have an awesome, awesome rest of your day, whoever you are and whatever you're doing out there. If you have a question for us, please drop it to us. We read every single one of the questions. You can drop it on a comment in any of our social media channels, or you can send us an email directly to contact@appliedleadershippartners.com, and we will love to read any of those questions and respond to them on the show. Until next time, from Blaine, my partner, and me, Brandon, have an awesome one out there, guys.